Okay, guys, my name is Desmond, and I welcome you to my lesson for today, where I'll be looking at mathematics paper 1. So, guys, just in case if you are watching this lesson from any of our social media platforms, it could be Facebook, TikTok, a website, or YouTube channel, just make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification to be notified of our future uploads. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any waste of time, what I'll be doing in today's lesson is to take you through your mathematics paper 1, where I'll be looking at the first part, second part, and third part of your paper. More parts will be covered by Mr. Sibanda. I hope you did enjoy the lesson that he started. I think it was around 20 past 6 today, where he was doing calculus. So just make sure that you don't miss any of his upcoming lessons, because he will prepare you guys so that you are 100% before you write your maths paper. So I'll just be taking you through, guys, the introduction. And most importantly, I want to show you guys on how you prepare for examination. You don't have to solve question papers from 2008, 9, 10, 2010, 2005, up until the paper for the previous year. You need to develop a very well-organized strategy in order for you guys to prepare for your exams. Okay, so the first part of your mathematics paper 1, let's focus on unit 1 and unit 2. Unit 1 being exponents and surds, unit 2 being algebra. Second part will focus on sequence and series. I'm not sure if you guys are able to see, but I notice there might be load shedding on my side. So I might need to come up with a backup plan. Are you guys now able to see?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just in case if that continues, I'll just make sure to get my backup plan in place. So, as I've indicated, I wanted us to talk more about first part, second part, and third part. So the second part, that's where we look at unit 3, which comprises of number pattern, sequences, and series. Third part, that's where we focus on functions. So firstly, let's have a look at what we call exponents and surds. So I'll just be very quick in explaining this. So let's consider this to be first part. So, ladies and gentlemen, I need you guys to be aware that in mathematics, we've got what we call equations. So let me quickly explain all that you need to know about equations. Guys, we've got types of equations. I know very well that you are aware of what we call a linear equation. And again, we've got what we call a quadratic equation. And again, we've got inequality, inequality equations. So, good people, be very careful when you're dealing with mathematics problems. You might be given a linear problem, a quadratic problem, or an inequality problem. Very, very much important, ladies. So how do you notice that you are dealing with an equation? I've always been saying, when you are dealing with an equation, that means you should be seeing an equal sign. And most importantly, you must be solving for an unknown which is represented by a letter, which could be any letter from A all the way up to Z. Doesn't matter whether it's capital letters or small letters. What matters the most is that when you give an equation, that means you'll be solving for an unknown, which is normally represented by a letter from A up to Z. Another thing that you need to be aware of is that you've got an inequality problems. So an inequality can be seen by that sign of less than or less than is equals to or greater than it's equals to. So I'll just give examples there of the ladies. So let's say we've got 2b minus 4, and this is equals to, let's say, 2. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to be able to identify the type of a problem that you are dealing with. So this is what we call an equation, Shriyas. Why do we call it an equation? It's because we notice it has an equal sign. So when you're dealing with an equation, ask yourself this question: what type of an equation is that? Is it a linear equation? Is it a quadratic equation? Is it an inequality? Good people, this is a linear equation. What makes it to be a linear equation? It's because the power of that letter is 1. Remember, if you just have A, that means the power is 1. If you have X, the power is 1. If you have Y, the power is 1. So for the fact that the letter or your unknown is to the power 1, that means this is a linear equation. Why linear equation? It's because we notice it has an equal sign. What does it mean when you're dealing with an equation? It means you must solve for the unknown. What did I say about the unknown? I said an unknown is represented by a letter, which could be any letter from A up to Z. In this case, which letter was used? Examiner chose to use letter B. So that means this is what we call an equation. What type of an equation? It's a linear equation. How do you notice it's a linear equation? It's because the unknown being letter B is to the power 1. What does it mean? It simply means you must solve. What are you solving? You're solving the unknown. What is the unknown? The unknown is B. Therefore, it means your final answer, ladies and gentlemen, it only has one letter being B. It's equals to whatever that you have solved. So if you have a linear equation, you are most likely to have one answer or one possible answer, which means your letter is equals to whatever answer. So if you had to quickly solve that linear equation, you're going to transpose, and then you have 6, then you divide it by 2, which means letter B, it's actually 6 divided by 2, which is equals to 3. So that means B, it's equals to 3. In mathematics, we are able to prove if your final answer is wrong or correct. So that means you need to substitute that letter A, which is equals to 3, into your original equation. So that means when you say 2 into your B value minus 4, it must give you 2. So what are you substituting there? You substitute 3. Why 3? Is because you said the value of Bob is equals to 3. So that means wherever you see Bob, you substitute 3. So when you punch 2 multiplied by 3, it gives you 6. 6 minus 4, it gives you 2. That means your answer, it is indeed correct. But if you got, let's say, 4 there as your final answer, that means 2 multiplied by 4 is 8. 8 minus 4, it's 4. Then it means your B value, it's not correct. So now let me quickly try to explain what is meant by a quadratic equation. Let's say, for example, you've got 2 x squared, let's say minus 4, this is equals 2, for example, let's say 0. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an equation. First thing first, why am I saying it's an equation? It's because I see we have an equal sign. When we are given an equation as a problem, ask yourself this question: is it a linear equation? Is it a quadratic equation? Is it a linear problem? Ladies and gentlemen, because of the unknown being letter x is to the power of 2, it makes it a quadratic equation. So that means if you have, for some reason, a squared, it could be x squared, it could be y squared, it could be b squared. Good people, any letter from a all the way up to z, as long as it has a squared, that means it's a quadratic. So this squared, it makes it a quadratic, ladies and gentlemen. So because on this problem we have an equal sign, it makes it an equation. So this type of a problem is what we call a quadratic equation. Very, very much important. So what does it mean when you've got a quadratic equation? It means, you remember, with a linear equation, it meant you are going to have a one answer or one possible answer because the exponent was 1. But in this case, because the exponent is 2, it means you are going to have 2 possible values of the unknown. So that means you might have x is equals to whatever, or x is equals to whatever. Why 2 possible values of the unknown? It's because of that squared over there. So always, when you are given a quadratic equation, just know somewhere, somehow, you might need to factorize. So there are multiple ways in which you can factorize. I remember in one of Mr. Sbanda's lesson, he taught you guys the best way to factorize when you are given a quadratic equation. So that is why it's very, very much important that at all times you do not miss any of our lessons. So in today's lesson, I'm not really into solving exam type of problems, but I'm mostly interested in giving you guys the background so that on my next lesson, when we tackle a first part of your question paper, second part and third part, you do have a background of how to approach those problems. So good people, it's very, very much important that at all times when you are given a problem, you understand the type of a problem that you are dealing with. Some of you guys in this group, you want to be policemen. Some of you guys, you want to be private investigators. Good people, when you are given a case, you don't just straight away try to solve the case. You need to understand the type of a problem. If you're given a group of gangsters, you need to understand what type of problem you are dealing with. You need to understand the characteristics of those people. Then, the moment you understand the type of a problem that you're dealing with, you are in a better position to be able to come up with a solution. I'm telling you guys, in real life, you will never come up with the best solution if you don't understand the problem. So here we've got 3 types of problems. I've explained to you the type of a problem called linear problem. So normally linear type of problems, you'll find them in grade 8, 9, and 10. When you get to grade 11 and 12, that's where they gradually introduce a bit more complicated problems, which includes quadratic. And again, as we'll be moving to this one, you also need to be aware of that type of a problem. So in short, let me quickly try to give another type of a, let's say you've got a 3, let me use b squared plus b minus 7, it's equals to 8. Ladies and gentlemen, you are given this in an exam. You don't just straight away try to solve that problem. Ask yourself this question: is this a problem? Yes, it's a problem. Who gave you this problem? It's an examiner. What type of a problem is this? Okay, this is an equation. Why is it an equation? Sir Desmond said, the moment I see an equal sign, it means this is an equation. Okay, what type of an equation is this? Is it a linear problem, or is it a quadratic problem, or is it an inequality problem? Good people, because you see that squared over there, it makes it a quadratic equation. What does it mean? It means you must solve for the unknown. What is the unknown? The unknown is any letter on the given problem, which could be any letter from A all the way up to Z. Doesn't matter whether it's in capital letters or in small letters. What is the unknown, or what represents the unknown in this problem? Is letter B. What does it mean? It means you must solve for B. So how do we solve this type of a problem, which is called a quadratic equation? You need to rearrange it in order such that it's in the standard form. What is the standard form? The standard form is the one of A, x squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. So every time when you're given a quadratic equation, you need to rewrite it in the standard form. So what does it mean? It means you have to rearrange this such that you have your coefficient b squared, your coefficient b, and a number, then equate everything to 0. So automatically it means you must move everything from the right to the left so that you just remain with 0 on the right side of that equation. Then after you've done that, you can factorize and say b is equals to whatever, or b is equals to whatever. Good people, I'm done with a quadratic equation. So remember guys, this won't be my very first and last lesson. If you happen for some reason to enjoy this lesson, just make sure to request it just before you write your exams, because the day before you write your exams, we just have a very nice small gathering where we just remind each other of the important parts of mathematics that you should be aware of. So this is not my first and my last lesson. I don't mind repeating it again, because the more I do it is the more I'll be presenting a better lesson. So just make sure that in case if I'm a bit fast, this lesson, it might be recorded, it might be posted on our social media platforms. Just make sure that if you missed something, you can still catch up, or otherwise day or days before you write your mathematics paper 1, you can catch up. Ladies and gentlemen, let's now have a look at this type of a problem. You are given 3c squared minus, let's say c, this is less than 2. And again, you are given, let's say 4, let me see, I see Teba has attended today's lesson, 4t plus 7 is equals to, let me even use this sign, greater or is equals to t. Okay, I'm in exam, I'm given this type of a problem. Good people, is this a problem? Yes. Who gave me this problem? Examiner. Why does he give me this type of problems? Okay, but it's fine, because I attended lessons by Mr. Sibanda and Sir Desmond. They said when you are given a problem, you need to study the problem. Okay, what is this? First thing first, I know this is an inequality type of a problem. How do I know it's an inequality type of a problem? It's because I notice that inequality sign over there. So the moment you see less than is equals to greater than is equals to, you know very well that you are dealing with an inequality. What type of an inequality problem is this? Guys, it's either it's a linear inequality or a quadratic inequality. So what makes a problem to be a linear? That's when the letter is to the power invisible 1. That's when a letter is to the power invisible 1. What makes a problem to be a quadratic? That's when you have a letter with to the power 2. That's when you have a letter to the power 2. But in this case, you can see this letter is not to the power 2, but is to the power invisible 1. But because you have the same letter with to the power 2, then it makes it a quadratic problem. What type of a quadratic problem? Is it a quadratic equation or a quadratic inequality? Because of this sign, it makes it to be a quadratic inequality. If you saw an equal sign, it was going to be a quadratic equation. So this one also, because of that sign, it makes it a linear inequality. You know very well that when you're dealing with a linear inequality or a quadratic inequality, for this one, you must also be having two values of c. C is equals to what? Or c is equals to what? This one, because it's to the power 1, you are just going to have one value of e. Very, very much important that when you're dealing with inequality sign, you know very well that you might need to look for what we call critical values. As soon as you find your critical values, then you represent them on your number line. Massively, 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 massively important, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, I want to quickly explain the second part of today's lesson, which is what we call an expression. Before I do that, did you all get all that I've said, and was it clear on your side?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
100%. Few of you guys made a confirmation, so I'm just going to remove. Let me just remove up to that point over there. Guys, I've talked much about an equation. Now, I want to talk about an expression. Good people, an expression is something that you can also be given. So, in short, when you're given an expression, how do you notice that you are given an expression? That's when you don't see an equal sign. So that's why I'm writing over there, no equal sign. So what do you do when you're given an expression? Good people, you simplify. Easy, 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 easy. When you're given an expression, you don't have an equal sign. What do? You simplify. In short, what does it mean when you simplify? You are simply rewriting the given expression from complex to simplest. Just a few days ago, Mr. Siban was taking you through what was that chapter? Laws of exponents. Very, very much important, ladies. So let's say you are given something similar to this. I'll just say, for example, 5 to the exponent m plus 1. Let's say a plus a maybe, let's say 5 to the exponent m. So, good people, here comes a question. What is this? So, these are the type of questions that you should be asking yourself. You are in exam and you're given something similar to that, even though it's going to be a bit more complicated than this. Good people, this is a problem. What type of a problem is this? Is it an equation or is it an expression? That's a very good question. How do you identify the type of a problem that you're dealing with? Guys, it's either it's an equation or it's an expression. Do I see an equal sign over there? No. Do I see an inequality sign over there? No. What am I seeing? I'm just seeing something with no equal sign. Therefore, it means it's an expression. Okay, now that I'm able to notice that I'm given an expression, what do? It means you simplify. What does it mean when you simplify? You are simply rewriting this thing from its complex form to its simplest form. So that's where you are most likely to apply the laws of exponents or your mathematical skills to simplify that given expression. Very, very much important. So something that you need to be aware of, guys. you are most likely to apply the laws of exponents the moment you realize you've got exponents which are to the power of letters. So that's in most cases where you must think of a laws of exponents. You must be able to know all of them and apply all of them. So in short, ladies and gentlemen, if you are given something similar to this, let's say you're given a sine into 180 minus angle theta multiplied by cos theta. The whole of this is divided by tan theta. You are given this. Ask yourself the very same question, guys. Is this a problem? Yes, it's a problem. What type of a problem is this? Is it an equation or is it an expression? Good people, because I don't see an equal sign, it makes it an expression. So if I've got an expression, what does it mean? It means I must simplify. So it's more like examiner thinks this thing is complicated, but guess what? I'm going to rewrite it in its simplest form. That means you must be well aware of the reduction formulas. You must be well aware of the ratio for tan. Therefore, as soon as you've done all of those, you cancel out those that cancel out each other. And most importantly, just like you can be able to mark if your final answer is correct, you can still do the same when it comes to simplify. I'll just try to quickly think of a possible example that I can give. Let's say, for example, you've got 2 to the exponent x divided by, I'll just say 4. Okay, let me say 2x over there. So it's 2 to the exponent 2x. And then here we've got 4 to the exponent x. So you are given something similar to this, even though it's going to be a bit complicated than that. So let's see. Obviously, because you notice you've got letters being your powers, that means you firstly think about laws of exponents. The moment you think about laws of exponents, try to rewrite all these bases in their simplest form or in their smallest form. So that means 2 can only be 2, and you can never have 2 to the exponent something unless if you say 2 to the exponent 1. But when it comes to 4, you firstly divide it by 1, you then divide that 4 by 2, you then divide it again by 3, you divide it by 4. So I'm just training you on how to determine the smallest form. So it's not at all the times where it's going to be 4. For example, sometimes it could be, let's say, for example, 16. So you just need to know to say, okay, I can start from 2 to the exponent something. Then you test with 1. If it doesn't work, you test with 2. Doesn't work, you test with 3. Doesn't work, you test it with 4. You will see the number will be increasing, getting closer to 16. Let's say for some reason you're given a bigger number. It could be 144. I'm just giving you this as an example. Start with 2. Say 2 to the exponent. Maybe start with 4, go to 10, go to 13, or whatever. Try to get a number closer to this. And as you increase the numbers, if you get a number above that, then you know 2 doesn't work. Try again with a 3. Start 3 to the 3, 3 to the 4, 3 to the 17, 3 to the what. If it doesn't work and it doesn't get you closer to that, try again 4. So those are the possible ways in which you can try to find the base with the corresponding power, which will end up giving you whatever that it is. For example, to find out about 4, I'm going to say 2 to the exponent 1, it gives me 2. 2 to the exponent 2, this is what gives me 4. So that means you have 2 to the exponent 2x, then you have 2 to the exponent 2, which is being multiplied by that, and it gives you 2 to the exponent 2. Then you know very well that when you get to this stage, you can just say you've got the same basis. Therefore, because of that sin of over, you subtract the exponent. So you're having 2 to the exponent x minus 2x. What is this? I think this is 0. So you end up having 2 to the exponent 0. What is 2 to the exponent 0? I think anything to the exponent 0 is equals to 1. So I remember when I was in high school, I used to then try to take this one and substitute it where I see x and expect to get 1. If I don't get 1, I just go to sleep, knowingly that I've done something wrong. But because you are in exam, you can't go to sleep. You must fight. Fight, ntombo. Let's see. If you say 2 to the exponent 2 into 1 over 4 to the exponent 1, I'm having a feeling that if you punch all of this, you are going to get 1. Why? Because 2 to the exponent 2 times that, this thing at the top is actually equals to 4. And then this one at the bottom is also divided by 4. 4 divided by 4 is equals to 1. Then you will see me in exam hammering a very big smile. Why? Because I know that I got it correct. So that is how you prove if your simplification is wrong or correct. But the moment you take your final answer, substitute it there, and you get, let's say, negative 20, just know that your distinction is coming out of the window. Very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that at all times you pay attention to all this type of information that we're providing in these lessons. I'm just going to quickly remove all of that. Remember, guys, this lesson is being recorded and you can be able to catch up at a later stage. This is not my very first and my last time conducting this lesson. I am going to do it again just before you write your exams. I will do exactly the same thing just so that it sinks in. So just in case if I run out of power, you might need to give me a few minutes so that I can come up with a plan B. But because all is still good, we can now continue. Ladies and gentlemen, I've talked about an equation. Good people, I've talked about an expression. Now, I want to talk about something very much important, which is what we call a term. So, normally this type of information is not being taught in your high school. They don't teach you in your primary. But I've always known that this type of information is very much important, guys. Massively important, because this forms part of the basics. Guys, a term, it starts with a sign. So I'm just going to write it in this format to say we have what we call a term. A term has got a sign. What sign? It's a sign of a plus or a minus. Remember, guys, I'm now talking about what we call a term. It doesn't matter whether it's a term of a mathematical equation or expression or whatever, but you will have a better understanding as I continue. Good people, after having a sign of a plus or a minus, what follows is what we call a coefficient. Coefficient. Ladies and gentlemen, after having a coefficient, we have what we call a variable. Guys, after a variable, we have what is well known as a power or an exponent. So now I'm going to quickly explain to you each of these things, guys. Let's say you've got let's say 2x. Good people, this thing, it has all of this, which makes it to be a term. What did I say? It's a term. I said a term, it's any mathematical letter or number which has a sign which could be a plus or a minus, a coefficient, a variable, and a power. Let's unpack this thing that I call it a term? Does it have a sign of a plus or a minus? Guys, if it's not written any sign there, it means it's a plus. So if it's not a plus, it's going to be a negative. Very, very much important. So that means this thing, it's actually a plus as a sign. What is the coefficient? The coefficient is the number that comes after a sign of a plus or a minus. In this case, is 2. Good people, what is a variable? A variable is any letter all the way from A up to Z. Doesn't matter whether it's written in capital letters or small letters. What is the variable in this case? Is letter X. So that means examiner chose to use letter X. So I'm just going to write it over there. Guys, in this case, what is the power? If it's not written anything over there, just like when I was explaining an what is it, a linear equation or a linear inequality, you know very well that you've got an invisible 1 over there. So let me quickly try to explain this one. I'm just going to say, let me see who else. Lee Mulefe has attended, so I'm just going to use letter L over there and say to the exponent 3. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we call a term. How do I notice that it's a term? It's because it has a sign. What is the sign in this case? It's a negative. What is the coefficient? The coefficient is an invisible 1 over there. So that means if there's no number, there is, but it's invisible. Unless if they write 2 or they write maybe 2 over, let's say, 5, or it could be 1 over 3. This is a coefficient as a fraction, but in this case it's a coefficient as 2. In this case it's a coefficient as invisible 1. Ladies and gentlemen, what is the variable? The variable is a letter, any letter from A up to Z. In this case is letter L. Massively important, guys. So what else are we having? We've got what we call a power. What is the power in this case? The power is 3. So in short, it means always when you're given a mathematical problem, you should know that you've got a term. A term has got a sign of a plus or a minus, a coefficient, which is just a number, and again a variable represented by a letter, which could be any letter from A up to Z. And by the way, that letter is what we call the unknown when you're dealing with equations. So that means if you're given letter L, you are most likely to be solving for that letter L. So in this case, we also have a power of which is 3. So I've always known that this thing, it's a box for what? For a sign of a plus or a minus. The next box, ladies and gentlemen, is for the coefficient. The next box, ladies and gentlemen, is for the variable. And the last box, good people, is the power. So this is all that you need in order to be able to understand a mathematical problem. So I'm just going to quickly erase all of this and give you something that you guys need to understand. Let's say for some reason you are given a, let's say is 2b plus let's say 4, and this is equals to 1. You do know very well that you have 2 terms on the left side of the equation and you have 1 term on the right side of the equation. But let's try to interpret it, ladies and gentlemen, by making use of what I've explained with regards to a term. Guys, what is a term? A term, it has all of this. How do you notice how many terms do you have in a given problem? Could be an expression or equation. A term is separated by a sign of a plus or a minus. So can you see you've got a sign there which could be a plus or a minus, which means you have a term and a term. That's why you say on the left side you've got 2 terms. Okay, then it's fine. So how do you apply mathematical procedure to solve given problems? Okay, before we even do that, you need to be able to interpret the term. let's try to interpret that first term, Mr. Ferdinand. What is the sign there? The sign is positive 2. What is the coefficient there? Coefficient is 2. What is the variable there? The variable is b. What is the power there? The power is 1. Okay, let's now move to this one. So already you're starting with a sign. So this is the sign of the second term. Okay, do we have a coefficient? Yes, the coefficient is 4. Do we have the variable there? We do not have the variable. Okay, it's fine. Do we have the power there? Yes, the power is invisible 1. On the other side, this is a term, ladies and gentlemen. If it's a number or a letter, it is a term. You just need to be carefully interpret it. How do we interpret this one? So we've got a positive 1. We've got a coefficient being 1 itself. We don't have a variable. We do have a power. It's 1. Okay, now that you are able to notice that you've got 1, 2 terms on the left, 1 term on the right, what type of a problem is this? Is it an equation? Is it an expression? It's an equation. Why? Because I see an equal sign. Okay, now that I've got an equation, what do I do? Ask yourself this question. What type of an equation is this? Is it a quadratic or a linear? It is a linear. Why? Because the power of the variable is 1. What does it mean? It means in the end, you must have one value which represents the unknown. So how do you solve this problem, Shriyas? Very, very much important that you follow mathematical procedure. So Shriyas, you only transpose when you have more than one terms. What does it mean? So always when you solve, in your mind, have this thing. You want to have letters on the left and numbers on the right. You remember, guys, for those of you who started in the beginning of the year, we were singing a song to say, Maluleka one side, Chabalala one side. I'm not sure if you guys remember. Ferdinand, I don't think you were there during those times. And the reason why we were singing this song is to remind us that Baloi one side. So that means we want to have all the letters on the left and we want to move numbers to the right. So do we have numbers on the left? Yes, we do. What is that number? It's 4. So you need to move Chabalala one side. So that means you want to remain with the letters on the left and move everything to the right. Remember, guys, remember, when you transpose, it changes a sign. So that means you're going to have 1 minus 4, and it makes it 1 minus 4 being equals to negative 3. Guys, don't just use your head. Some of you, especially myself when I was in grade 10, I never trusted my head because to me this thing could look like 4 minus 1 being 3. Just punch it on a calculator. Very, very much important. You will see your calculator will never lie. It will say this thing is negative 3. So because you want to have letters on the left and numbers on the right, so that means you must remove everything attached to the letter. So can you guys see that you no longer have 2 terms on the left, you no longer have more than 1 terms on the right? So it's just 1 term, 1 term. So you need to mathematically remove that 2. How do you remove it? Because you know in between you've got a sign of a multiplication. You remove it by dividing it by 2 deliberately so that it's going to cancel. Whatever that you do on the left, you do on the right. Not only what you do on the left, but also whatever that you do on the right, you do on the left. Which means finally, b is equals to negative 3 over 2. Can you see? Because it was a linear equation, you only have one value of the unknown. If it was a quadratic, you were going to have b is equals to whatever, or b is equals to whatever. Remember, guys, I'm just preaching the name of God. So don't worry that much in case if everything doesn't sink in your head. But one thing for sure, either tomorrow or whenever my next lesson will be, you will have a better understanding of everything that I'm talking about. In today's lesson, I'm not that much into engaging with you guys, but I want to just preach all that you need to be aware of as far as mathematics is concerned. Now, I want to remove all of this and explain all that you need to know regarding the signs. What signs? Plus, minus, divide, and multiplication. That's all that I want to talk about. But before I do that, everyone, wherever you are on your site, are you happy there? And does everything make sense?
Yes, sir.
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 Yes, sir.
So,
Okay. Quickly, let me remove all of this. Remember to have your mics muted, ladies and okay. So now I want to quickly talk about the basic signs. Good people, we know very well from primary that we've got a sign called plus. We've got a sign called minus. We've got a sign called, let's say, maybe division. We've got a sign called multiplication. Let's try to talk all that we know about an addition sign. We know that the addition sign, it gives us the total. So that means when I've got 3 marking pens over there and say this one plus this one plus this one, it gives us 3 marking whatever marking pen. So a addition sign gives us the total. Otherwise, someone can say it gives us the sum. It all depends on which word you like using. So we use these to add whatever that can be added, and whatever that you are adding, it has to be like terms. So that means if you have let's see, we have grace. Let's say if you have grapes, ladies and gentlemen, you have 1 2 3 grapes, you have 1 2 grapes, you have 1 2 3 4 grapes. You can only add grapes because they are of the same type of a fruit. You cannot add the grapes with the bananas. So just make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that at all times you remember the importance of an addition and again possible ways in which addition can be represented. If I remember very well, this sign, I think it also it has something to do with an addition sign. I remember when I say the sum of p, I know I'm talking about the sum of momentum, which means you add all the momentums involved in whatever problem that you're dealing with. So let's quickly try to move to this sign called a minus. We know very well that a minus, we use it to subtract. You might be subtracting, let's say 2 minus 1, you use the sign. And again, someone might say we call it a minus. Again, we can refer to this as a negative. So you need to be aware of when it's suitable to use which word. For example, when you use minus, that's when you have, let's say, 4 minus 2. But the moment you just have it could be minus 7, you don't call this minus 7, but you call it negative 7. It's only if maybe you have 10, then it changes to be minus. So it's 10 minus 7 and not 10 negative 7. Very, very much important. But this one, it's negative 10 minus 7. Massively important that you speak mathematics mathematically. Very, very much. So let's see. Again, what else can we talk about that minus? We know that this with the difference. You get the difference when you minus 2 terms. Very, very much important. So again, ladies and gentlemen, there's something common with this when you're dealing with mathematical problems. You transpose trees. You transpose only when you notice a sign of a plus or a minus. So that means if you have 4j minus 2, it's equals to, let's say, 3. Remember, guys, always when you have an equation and you're given a linear equation, just remember this song. Chabalala, one side. Baloi, one side. What else do they? Maloleka, one side. Let me see. Sylvester, one side. Johnny, one side. Who else? Ferdinand, one side. What does it mean? It means you just want to have the letters on the other side and the numbers on the right side. So I said a plus and a minus. Whenever you see that, that's when you transpose. Can you see? You are seeing a minus over there, and you want to sing that song. So you transpose, yes, because you notice you've got a minus sign over there. So you end up having 4j is equals to 5. So do you see a sign of a plus or a minus there? No, you don't see that sign. That is why you no longer transpose, because you no longer see a sign of a plus or a minus. So you therefore need to apply these signs over there. Ladies and gentlemen, you've got a division sign in between. That is why you therefore divide in order to remove that 4. Good people, when you have a minus sign there, the reason why when you transpose it becomes a plus is because whatever that you do to change, on the other side you use an opposite sign. So that means when you have a positive, its opposite sign is minus. When you have a multiplication sign, its opposite sign is division. So this to the correspond, this to the correspond. Do not see yourself taking this to the other side and then you see yourself also there transposing or doing whatever. Just know that in between a letter and a number, always there's a multiplication sign. I'm going to explain to you how you notice a multiplication sign. So this was just a mini example there, ladies and gentlemen. Quickly, let me speak about a division sign. Guys, just know that a division sign can be represented in many ways. This is the first way that we're exposed to in primary. But you notice that as you grow, sometimes they just use this sign, which is what we call over. So this is divided by, this is over. So it could be 2 over 4. So you notice that when you get 3% in your mathematics, they just write it like this to say a 3 out of 100 is what you got. So this is forward slash, this is pair. For example, 1 over 2. This thing is the same as 1 over 2, like that. Good people, this is the same as 1 divided by 2. So in primary, you'll be writing it this way. As you upgrade, you write it like this. As you upgrade, you write it like that. Guys, again, you can still have something dot something. Still, this is a division in a form of a ratio. So you notice when we do what's that chapter? I think it's probability or even in statistics or whatever, you notice that sometimes, for example, when you're doing your map work, you have 1 is to, let's say, 10,000 being a scale. This thing is the same as 1 over 10,000. Good people, this thing is the same as 1 divided by 10,000. Is the same as 1 forward slash 10,000. You just need to be aware of which one is suitable at which stage. Massively important, ladies and gentlemen, that at all times you pay full attention to every single detail. Quickly, let me explain all that you need to know with regards to a multiplication sign. Okay, let's see. A multiplication sign, we know very well, Rato, that in primary is just multiplication sign like that. Very much. So as things go deeper, you notice that you'll be having a coefficient, then you have a dot in between, then you have a letter. For example, 2 dot, let's say B. Sometimes you just have a letter, nothing in between, and you just have a number, or you have a letter, then a number. For example, guys, let's say 7x. So these are the three ways in which you can represent a multiplication sign. You just need to be aware in terms of which one is suitable to use. When you are in primary, you use this one where they say, what is 4 times 2? You know this is equals to 8. This one of a dot, in what instances is that normally being used? Normally, when you multiply a letter by a letter, let's say A multiplied by B, this is equals to obviously AB. So normally, that's when they use a dot in between. Massively important, guys. But why are they not using that multiplication sign? It's because if you have A multiplied by X, can you see, guys? It therefore seems as if you have AXX. You know very well that we've got different types of handwriting. Some of you guys will be writing AX times X. That is the reason why it's better to just say A dot X. In that way, we know that you are multiplying A by X. Okay, it's fine. In what instances do we just have a number and a letter and still we've got you have a letter? Some being some. Why are we using that multiplication sign? It's because if you have 2 multiplied by k, can you see? It's more like you have 2xk. So that is why it's better to just write 2k. Guys, what about a dot? Good people, we cannot have a number multiplying another number using a dot in between. Why? Because it seems as if you have 4, 2. Very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that at all times you understand how to use these signs. Guys, before I move to the second part of today's lesson, did you all understand all that I've explained? And most importantly, is there someone who's got a question up to this point? Guys, are you still there?
We're fine.
So you guys are saying you are still on the same page on your side, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
100%. So the next part that I want to quickly go through is that part of number patterns, sequences, and series. So also on this one, I'm going to be a bit quick. So that means we should be having a lesson where we do a revision, concentrating on that part of exponents and surds, algebra, and again, your second part of which I consider that to be unit 3. Let me just write it down there and say number patterns. What else are we having there? Sequences and series. So it's unfortunate I haven't got a chance to take you through all this type of problems, the number pattern, sequence, and series part. I do have some notes prepared. I'll just have to make sure that I select one of the good days to take you through all of that, surely before you guys write your exams. So let me just quickly go through my notes to just quickly explain to you some of the important information there. Okay, number one, what I want to talk about quickly, it's what you guys know very well as number patterns. There might be R in between, but I know very well that you do know the spell. Good people, a list of numbers in order is called a number pattern. It's as easy as that. A list of numbers in order is what we call number pattern. So that means you must be having a list in a certain type of order. In that way, you'll be able to realize that you might be having what we call an arithmetic, a quadratic, or a geometric type of an order. So that is the starting point, guys. You don't just start with arithmetic, quadratic, or geometric. Try to understand what exactly are you dealing with. Okay, now that you know that a list of numbers in order is what we call a number pattern. That means we need at least 3 numbers, Tando. We just need at least 3 numbers in the list to work out if the numbers form a pattern. So that means we might need, for example, let's say 2, 4, 6. How many numbers do we have there? We've got 1, 2, 3. Then it doesn't matter if there are some more numbers. We just need 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, to work out if this number form a certain type of a pattern. What does it mean, Ferdinand? It means with just 2 numbers, we cannot tell if that forms a pattern, or we cannot be sure what the pattern is. So if you just have 2 and 7, unless they state to say this is a quadratic, this is arithmetic, or this is geometric, if they do not state, with just 2 numbers, you cannot tell if this forms a certain type of a pattern. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that at all times you pay attention to every detail. Okay, now that you are aware of what number pattern is, let me not go deep into that, but leave it there for now and introduce you to what we call an arithmetic sequence. So, because you might realize that when you're given 3 numbers, they form a sequence. Then you ask yourself this question: what type of a sequence am I dealing with? So that means you need to be aware of the type of sequences available. What type of sequences do we have? We've got an arithmetic, we've got quadratic, and we've got what we call guys, I've just noticed that I might have lost my internet connection, but I'm just going to quickly try to work out something. I'll try to now use my data. Are we back on track? Is there someone who can confirm if you guys are able to see over there? Let me also connect my power bank because I notice I might be running out of power. Onka. Can you see there?
Yes, sir.
Shreyas, can you confirm that?
Yes, sir, we can see.
100%. I think we can now try to quickly proceed. But wait, guys, are you understanding the word of God, or am I praying alone here?
We
Oh,
understand, sir.
understand.
Yes, sir, we do.
Tebatso, di a kwala ko basetsana.
We understand, sir.
Hallelujah. Mulefe, are we doing good that side? Jennifer,
Yes, sir, we're doing good.
Makito,
Yes, sir.
100%. Okay, so let's quickly see, ladies. So now that we're talking about sequences, you need to be aware of this type of sequences. The first one being arithmetic. Okay, let's just say Tn is equals to a plus into n minus 1 close d. Massively important, ladies and gentlemen, that you are able to notice that this is a formula where it says Tn is equals to a. You are aware of what a is, and you've got n, which is just a number, minus 1, and you've got d. So can you see, guys, what I've just explained is that you have this thing inside the brackets, which is whatever that is inside. Then in between you've got d. You know with your spiritual eye that in between you've got a multiplication sign. They did not have to write it. But when you substitute, normally you guys, when you use this formula, you are most likely to be getting too many errors when you punch on a calculator. It's because you are not mathematically punching it correctly. So I can tell you, if you punch 2 minus, let's say, 1, and you say maybe times 8, and you punch it like this, you are most likely to get an error. Why are you getting an error? It's because in between, you did not write or punch a multiplication sign. You just punched it as it is. So those are some of the reasons why you are getting some errors. So I won't go deep into this formula, but I'll just leave it there. Okay, just so that you are aware of what we call an arithmetic equation. So again, we have what we call a quadratic sequence. Obviously, we know the general formula is a n squared plus bn plus c. Good people, why is this thing being called a quadratic sequence? Remember, always when you have the power being 2, think of the word quadratic. So because in this case we're dealing with sequences, then it makes this to be a quadratic sequence. So whenever you're dealing with sequences, the moment you see a formula which could be Tn is equals to, let's say, 7n squared and then plus 4, don't worry about whoever stole that Bn, because you notice you've got to the power 2. Automatically, you know very well that you're dealing with a quadratic sequence. Massively. Hey, massively important, ladies and gentlemen, that at all times you pay full attention to every detail. Guys, you don't know how much enjoyable it is to be teaching you guys. And I'm very, very sure that you are not watching a Generations of Gomorrah or a series or whatever channel you might be watching there. I'm very much sure that everyone is paying attention to every single detail. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to be going deep into each of these type of sequences. You are aware, you've got a bit of a background, but I still wish to take you through so that when we tackle exam type of questions, I know that whatever that I'll be talking about is exactly what we discussed in one of our master lessons. Guys, I so wish that you could feel the information that I'm feeling. Ferdinand, let me see. Is Ferdinand there? Is he still there? Let me see. He's there. He's listening. Guys, Ferdinand will tell you that this lesson is top. For those of you who have been attending most of my lessons previously, you will hear this word more oftenly coming from Ferdinand. Ferdinand, am I wrong? Is it not dope? Let me see. Is Ferdinand here?
Say so, bro, imonate.
La utlwa bagaetsho. Ferdinand, tell them. Sizin. Butlobo Tsefu. I need some Tando. Is it not dope? Seems like Tando has run away.
It is, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got what we call a geometric
Sir, I
sequence.
did not. It is.
Oh, you're still there. 100%. Okay, so I was still telling on Kamogetse that we've got what we call a
Yes, sir.
geometric sequence. So this is how you notice a geometric sequence. A r to the exponent n minus 1. So just like I've explained to you guys to say, this is how you notice a quadratic equation. This is how you notice a linear equation. Sorry, this is how you notice what is it? A quadratic inequality. This is how you notice a linear inequality. The same type of approach can still be applied to these sequences. There is a manner in which you notice an arithmetic sequence. There is a manner in which you notice a quadratic series. What is it? Or a sequence, arithmetic sequence, or a quadratic sequence. There is a manner in which you notice a geometric sequence, which is something that I'm going to be teaching you guys in detail whenever I start with that lesson. So, as I've always been saying, guys, it's not just a matter of me preaching the word of God, but I am pretty much sure that as I talk, you do learn how to think. You know, guys, there's a way in which you think, and there's a way in which others think. The way in which you think is different from the way in which others think. But there should be a standard guideline in terms of how we approach things. So that is what I'm trying to teach you guys to say. At all times, when you study, there must be a manner in which you study. Some of you guys, you just open a book in the middle of the book, then you start reading. That's not how you study. When you study, you firstly start with what we call the table of contents to check what chapters you've got in the book. Whatever chapters that you've got, notice what are the sub content that follows in that specific chapter. You will notice that maybe in unit 1, sequence and series, whatever the unit could be, you've got what we call arithmetic sequence. They talk about geometric, quadratic, whatever. So That means you must start from the start and at the end. Don't start at the end and end at the beginning. So that's how you should study, guys. Once you are done studying, summarize what you have studied so that next time when you study, you don't need to read or study the whole book. You just go through your summary. Remember, guys, I've told you guys before that we've got what we call a periodic table. I've learned a periodic table and I had to make a song of the periodic table. Listen to this. I'm not sure if I should sing it with the bass, first part, or a. So, Shriyas, should I sing it with a bass, first part, or a. What is. Which one?
Go on you, sir.
Which one, Shriyas?
So whichever one you choose.
Okay, let me choose bass. So, listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. What I'm going to sing now is a periodic table from the first hydrogen being the first atom or the first element being hydrogen up to the last one. Hydrogen, heli bukan of ninamaga alsip satloragon kasectivi chromium feconecozing guide acibrum grape. Ladies and gentlemen, that was periodic table from the first atom up until the last atom. For the last time, Shriyas, I will try to use your voice. Hydrogen, heli bukan of ninamaga alsip satloragon kasectivi chromium feconecozing great. Guys, that was a song that I had to sing since when I was in grade 10 up until today. I still know the song. When I got to varsity, in those instances where we had to use the elements, I would just sing the song, draw the structure of a periodic table, populate everything. Hydrogen, I know, is the first element, heli B. So heli B is actually helium, lithium. You might find that boron is there. Heli B, Bukhanov. Bukhanov, you can hear C is there for carbon. O for oxygen is there. F is there, Bukhanov, for whatever that atom starts with letter F. So I'm just saying, ladies and gentlemen, after you have studied something, try to find a way to summarize. Just like you guys say Sokatua. You know Sokatua, that's when you're dealing with sine being opposite over hypotenuse. What is it? Sokatua. You have tua there being tan opposite over adjacent, and then soka, you have car there being cos for adjacent over high. Those type of things, guys, which is what we call a mnemonic. Every time when you study, make sure that you've got a way in which you can cram these things. I still remember to date that in a human eye, we've got what we call the rods and cones. So in your eye, you have the cells called rods and cones. The other one helps you to see in black and white. The other one helps you to see in color. So I'll just use this example and then I'll proceed. So in your eyes, we had what we call the rods, and again, we've got the cones. So it's either the rods or the cones that helps you to see in black and white and the others with color. So sometimes when you get to exam and you are rushing, you forget in terms of whether this one is for black and white or this one is for color. But I'm going to tell you guys something that you will never forget for the rest of your life. Find a way, try to be smart in cramming these things. Shriyas, can you see that C there? Onkamorets. To me, that C, it means color. C for color. Then rods is obvious. What is obvious? It's black and white. Till today, I know very well that if a question comes and says, is it the cones or the rods? That helps you to see in color. Then I just remember, C for color. Otherwise, if they talk about black and white, I just know it's that one. Guys, are you getting what I'm trying to explain to you guys over there, or am I confusing you guys there?
Sir, I understand.
So I understand.
We understand, sir.
Lona barata nguphila motlhabingwa. Good people, it's very, very nice to be delivering these lessons because I know very well that you will use this info. So, guys, this is part 2 of what you'll be dealing with in your mathematics paper 1. The last one that I want to quickly run through is the third part, which is for functions. Not so long ago, I've done a lesson on functions. Guys, please do allow me to say, it's very much important that I say it's very, very much important because what I'm about to say, it's massively, 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 massive. Hey, it's massively important that I say a day without learning something new, it's a day wasted. Please do make sure that by the end of each and every lesson that I conduct, you learn something new. Why? Because it's massively, massively, massively important. Good people, we are now on functions. What type of functions do we have? I've explained to say we've got straight line, we've got parabola, we've got hyperbola, we've got exponential. Massively important, guys. I've explained to you to say these formulas, all of these formulas, they started at a baby stage. From there, they grew to become teenagers. From there, they grew to be adults. Guys, is there someone who remember me talking about this thing on functions? Or was it before you joined my lessons?
We remember, sir.
I remember, sir.
Remember, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've noticed that functions are giving you guys nightmares. But do not worry because it wasn't my last time doing functions. I will make sure that we do the functions again before you write your mathematics paper 1. But quickly, let me write this form. We said for a straight line, it started as just y, it's equals to x. Let me check if Mr. Sibanda is here because I want to imitate him. It seems like he's not here. If it was Mr. Sibanda, he was going to tell you with confidence to say y is equals to x. Good people, it grows from there to become y is, guys, don't tell him name. If you tell him, I'm telling you, guys, y is equals to mx. It doesn't end there, it grows to become y is equals to mx plus c. Make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that you don't miss any of our upcoming lessons because that's when I go deep into explaining what's going on over there. So you need to be aware that the formula started as y is equals to x, then it grew up to have some wings. Then you can see it's a bird. What is A human is a baby, becomes a teenager and adult, but a bed, what is a newborn bed? Is there someone with Model C English there to help us? What is a newborn bed?
Chick.
Oh, yes, chick. Okay, Shreyas. So, can you see? It starts as a chick, then it develops some wings there. After being a chick, what is it? Is it now becoming a bird? What is it, Shreyas?
But
But Shreyas, if it's a bird, my explanation won't be clear. Good people have got a strategy. We call it chick, chicka, chickest. Do you remember this thing? Good, gooder, goodest. What else? Baby, baby, babyest. No, it's fine. Chick, chicka, chickest. So now we are having a chicka. Forgive me, Shreyas, but never ever in your class say to your teacher, this formula, it started as a chick, it became a chica, and now as a chickest. They are going to hammer you with a duster. Make sure never to say that in class. Very, very much important. So now you can see at a chica stage, it has some wings over there. Now it becomes a chickest. Good, gooder, goodest. So you can see it's now starting to fly. So I am going to interpret all of that when we go deeper into our calculations. Let's now go to the next type of an equation, being parabola. This is where it started. It started as just y is equals to x squared, being a chick, Shreyas. And it now grows to become either a teenager or a chick. Ferdinand, are you not lost that side? Are you sure? We are Pasitsan. Onkamogetse gonse lebogang. Molefe. Botlhobo.
I'm not
Lesego.
lost, sir.
I'm not lost, sir.
Lost.
Grace. Tando. Jennifer.
We're here, sir.
Guys, just make sure that the lesson doesn't end without you unmuting yourself and saying, even if you just laugh or you just cough or you just breathe, you just say, guys, just to show that you are still doing good that side. Okay, so now let's talk about this at a chica stage. So it becomes y is equals to plus or minus ax squared. And I've explained what that a means. I'm still going to explain that as time goes on. It continues at its cheapest stage to become y is equals to a plus or minus a squared, maybe plus bx plus c or q over z. So that's when we talk about the stages of a parabola. Let's quickly try to explore the stages of a hyperbola. So a hyperbola started as y, it's equals to a over x. Then after some time, they realized that no, this thing is boring and is easy. Let's try to make it a little bit more complicated. Then they did this. Then it became a over x plus p. So for everything added to that, it makes changes. Just like when you cook your gravy, you just have a potato, an onion. What else do you have when you cook this thing gravy? You also have a what is it? Hey, did you say millimil? Lebogang, do you put millimil in a gravy? Nie. Mihlolo yam. Hey, Grace, in KZN, or are we? No. Mm-mm. Milli gravy. No. Okay. What is it? It's onion, tomato. For now, let's say cooking oil. So this is what we're having there. 1, 2, 3. So the moment you add a spice being added there, what happens to that gravy, ladies and gentlemen? That's something that you should be aware of, which is what I'm going to explain to you. So now they realize that no. We are used to the taste of a gravy which has got tomato, onion, and cooking oil and spice. Let's now hammer some eggs inside. Then when they hammer some eggs, it becomes something similar to this. A over X plus P. Remember, it still has onion, tomato, and cooking oil, and again a spice. They just add eggs over there. Guys, did you ever eat that mixture of gravy with eggs? Do you guys know it, or you guys just know abu pizza and purity? I'm sure you guys just know purity. Is there someone who knows that side dish?
Yes.
Dope, ne? Is it not dope? Ferdinand, is it not dope?
Yo nako mathomong ga ke a go utlwa menyere nna e tla e khata ke experience load shedding.
Okay. Luckily, this lesson is being. So remember, guys, just in case if it's unfortunate that you might be experiencing load shedding on your side, just remember that this lesson is being recorded. So, Ferdinand, I was saying that mixture of a gravy added with eggs, it's very, very nice and it's interesting. So, I was just using that example to explain the development of these formulas to say when it's given like that, it shouldn't confuse you. You just need to know that it started there. You need to understand the impact of A on the formula, and again, when they add P, which could be what is it? Spice, adding spice to gravy. You just need to know that it changes the taste and nothing much. It's still gravy, but the taste tastes differently. When they add eggs, it's still gravy, but it tastes differently. So when you know the history, you are in a better position to shape the future. Massively important, ladies and gentlemen. Quickly, as we're approaching towards the end of our lesson, let's quickly talk about an exponential graph. So this is where it started, guys. It just started as a b to the exponent x being a chick. Let's see. Molefe, it grows to become something similar to this. A b to the exponent x. Nothing changes. You can see they're just adding some stuff over there. You shouldn't be scared about that being like that. What else are they adding over there? It's y, it's equals to, so we are still having the same thing. Can you see? But they just add q over there. So you just need to be aware that, okay, now that they've added a sugar there, what are the impact, or what is the impact of sugar being added to putu? Lebogang, what is the impact of adding mayonnaise to putu? So these are the things that you guys need to be aware of. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think I have explained what I wanted to explain to you guys in today's lesson. And I feel very much relieved that I was able to get up to the end without any major difficulties of not having a power or network. But just to get a feedback from your side, did you all understand before I conclude today's lesson? Are you all happy that side?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We're
Yes,
so
sir.
happy.
Okay, guys, thanks very much for joining. I hope you did enjoy today's lesson. My name is Desmond. Have a good night. And I'm out.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.